Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or MOUNJARO? Then join us on The Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or MOUNJARO. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 MOUNJARO TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to The Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.
Alive on the moon, Jaro, it's on the pen alive, with your host David Knapp.
Thank you, Clap Track, and happy Thursday night. Welcome to On the Pen Live. I'm your host, Dave Knapp, ManOnMounjaro. That's why I'm here. You are on the pen. Wegovy, Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity, MOUNJARO, Zepbound, Survodutide. That pen, that's why you're here, and we're all here to share a little bit of community, to talk about our experiences with GLP-1 medications, obesity treatments, incretin mimetics, however you want to couch it. That's why you're here, and the community, for my money, is the best out there. So thank you for being here tonight. Welcome, Anna, Sue the Dude, Sandra, I see you, Cloakster. Good to have you here tonight. Allie, Donna, Todd, Rudy, who am I missing? Just Mimi from Australia, from the Retatrutide trial. We got a great show tonight. We've got Scott Liberto here. Now, Scott, for those of you who don't know who Scott is, he has a channel called, let's see here. I'm missing it, Scott. Planet Scott, I believe. Am I getting that right? Planet Scott. And Scott Liberto is in the Survodutide trials. Now, Survodutide is essentially a GLP-1 plus a glucagon agonist. And you may remember that from Retatrutide when we talked about Retatrutide. Retatrutide's GLP-1 plus GIP, like Zepbound and MOUNJARO are, plus glucagon. And that glucagon activation is a real game changer when it comes to melting off liver fat, increasing your metabolism, and ultimately people just seeing a tremendous amount of weight loss with that medication. So Survodutide, a really exciting one from Bayringer Ingelheim, and Scott Liberto from Planet Scott is here tonight to talk all about his experience in the clinical trial. So we'll bring him in a little bit, but you know that we've got a rhythm and a rhyme and a reason to the show. And the first thing that we like to do on this show is just to get into a little bit of housekeeping about what's going on the channel. So let's get into it.
Housekeeping.
You want mint for pillow? Housekeeping. There's a lot going on in the life of Dave Knapp. A lot of times we'll talk about the channel and things going on the channel. To be honest, I am in survival mode. I'm in complete survival mode. So for those of you who don't know, just a quick recap is that my wife broke her leg a couple of weeks ago, and it's just been a wild ride in a Knapp household ever since then. Gina with a $50 super chat. Holy smokes. Thank you, Gina. That's extremely generous of you. Thank you. That's going to really go a long way towards helping us with what I'm about to tell you. Thank you so much, Gina, for that super generous super chat. So essentially, my wife broke her leg just a few weeks ago, and so I've got all 4 of our kids 10 and under. All day, every day. Our days have started at about 5:30 a.m. to get them ready for school. And I don't rest my head on the pillow until they're all in bed at night and the dishes are clean and all that stuff. So we're typically talking about 11 o'clock. So 5:30 to 11 o'clock. That is a lot. And tonight, our life has been compounded because on Wednesday, was it Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week, our basement flooded, our completely finished basements, which is where I have the OnThePen studio. And OnThePen studio is where we record this live show that we do every week. So I brought a couple of artifacts just so we could still feel at home. The creepy hand holding the MOUNJARO pen, and of course, the belly fanny pack with the MOUNJARO pen sticking out of it, just so everybody could still feel a little sense of normalcy, if not so I could feel a little bit of normalcy / sanity. So thank you for everyone who has reached out. Many people have reached out and thrown a little donation our way. Thank you for those who have done that. That has been super helpful. This is probably not something insurance is going to cover. We had a similar thing happen a few years ago, and a sump pump failed, and I think it was a one-time cover thing. So we're on our own for this one. So thank you for those who have given gifts. Gina with a $50 super chat. If you would like to contribute, there are links in the description of this video. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. Donna says they don't have basements in Texas. Wish you could have them. They're nice to have. It's a lot of extra space, especially with 4 kids. You feel like you can kind of get away a little bit, get your sanity, or send them downstairs. And yeah, it's critical to the sanity. But when it gets to raining like it has in Iowa over the last few days, it can be quite a nuisance. So that's what's basically going on in the Knapp household this week. And so I appreciate your thoughts, your prayers, continued prayers for my wife and her healing with her broken leg. We can't wait to get her back, but we're still a few weeks out from that. So thank you all for your thoughts and prayers. Let's get into some what's fresh, because there's a lot to get into from the week of GLP-1 news. GLP-1 news, what's fresh this week? Well, there's a lot. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the OnThePen, the weekly dose podcast, which drops every Tuesday. Of course, if you're a member of this channel, for just $2.99 a month, you can become a member of this channel. You get the video right away. As soon as I record it, the podcast goes up a little bit later. And then everybody gets the video a few days later. So the Weekly Dose podcast is your one-stop shop for incretin mimetic news. And so if you've checked out the podcast, put podcast in the chat. If you've given it a 5-star rating and review, thank you. Thank you for those who have gone over and given it a 5-star rating and review. Several of you did this week, and I really appreciate that. That just helps more people see this. And we have a goal to get into the top 10. We've broken 12. 12 is as high as we've gotten so far. And I'm hoping to break into the top 10. And we can't do that without you. So you got to go over to the podcast. Links in the description here. Just give it a 5-star rating and review. Karen gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. As members, typically we do a members only live stream before the show. But since I'm our boys baseball coach, it runs on Thursday nights. And so it's going to impact some of our shows this summer. But the practices lead pretty much right up to this. So we're going to do that after the show. So tonight we're going to do the members only live stream after the show. So if you're a new member now, you just benefited from Karen's giftings of the membership, or you were a membership previously, you'll get to join us tonight after the show. But what's fresh? I'll get into it. It took me about 5 minutes to get there, but we're here. So a lot of news in the world of GLP-1s this week, and we covered a bunch of it on the podcast. But one of the things that we did not cover on the podcast was that there was some new news in the world of Wegovy. And we briefly talked about this, how there was a fire at one of the Novo Nordisk plants. So obviously when we talk about the future of these medications, and even in the interim where we've got Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly trying to crank out a bunch of supply, the future is bright when it comes to manufacturing, because of all the work that Novo and Eli Lilly are doing to increase manufacturing. Well, this fire set things back quite a bit. Well, just yesterday, there was a second fire at a Novo Nordisk site, a second fire. Now, this one happened to be at an administrative building, but what is going on at Novo Nordisk? I think it's time to get the it's time to get the conspiracy hats out. Has Dave Ricks declared war? on Novo Nordisk? Is that what's going on here? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. One of the fun things that I wanted to do tonight too is, in addition to talking about the war, the kinetic war now raging between Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, is there was a medicine, and I don't know if you caught this or not. We did a video on it. I'm not sure if we uploaded it to YouTube or not, but there has been this union, this unholy union of two medicines that are now in a clinical trial. One is called Vyleesi, and one is called tirzepatide. Now, you're familiar with tirzepatide. Is anybody familiar with Vyleesi? Well, let me tell you a little bit about Vyleesi. Vyleesi is a peptide that is used to increase the female libido. So it acts on some receptors in their brains and increases libido. Now they're finding that this also leads to a little bit of weight loss. And so their thought is, if they combined Vyleesi and tirzepatide, MOUNJARO, Zepbound, together, it will form this super weight loss medication. So this is in a clinical trial now where we're going to get top line data before the end of the year. But I want to know from you, let's name that peptide. Let's just posit some of the potential names for this unholy marriage of Zepbound and Vyleesi. Anybody got any thoughts? So I posed this to my TikTokers on a live the other day, and somebody came up with MOUNJARO. I thought that was pretty cool. But what do you got? What do you got, chat? I know that you're not going to let me down. Sexertide. Hey, Chi, how are you tonight? I want to hear some. The Jardian. Matt says the Jardiance girl is setting the fires at Novo. Tersexatide. There it is, Cloakster. There it is. I'm sure that the chat has all sorts of. I think that whatever name they come up with, this melding of these two medications ought to be very interesting. And so yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out to the chat. See what you come up with. Let me know, Sue the Dude, who wins this one. I tend to think that that one maybe belongs to Cloakster. I don't want to lay you. Awesome. All right, so let's keep moving this along. I can't wait to go back and read what y'all came up with in the chats. But we're going to keep moving this along into the next segment of the show. And you know that we like to take out the trash on Thursday, so let's take out the trash. So we had an article this week in which the president of Lilly Diabetes basically said that there is no plans. There are no current plans. Sorry about the lighting, guys. There are no current plans to release vials for MOUNJARO or Zepbound. Now, why the diabetes guy is talking about Zepbound vials, I don't know. But he said there are no plans to do that. Now, I feel like I've done nothing but rant on Eli Lilly for the last couple of lives that I've done when we get to talking about the shortages and everything. But I got to say, what is going on with the shortages and the lack of Lilly's movement to bring more medication to market in the form of vials is absolutely just unacceptable. It's unacceptable. They need to do better. Again, this is putting people, we're to the point where this is harming people. I think you can pretty confidently say that people are being harmed by the lack of accessibility to this medicine. And the reason I can say that is because I interact with thousands of you on a weekly basis, whether it's people dealing with anxiety on one end of the spectrum, or people dealing with blood sugars skyrocketing because they can't find their medicine. Titrating back and forth to different doses. What does that do to somebody? Titrating down because you can't get the dose that you're needing to, or moving up too fast. Like, how does that affect somebody? They're paying lots of money for these medications and not extracting the value that is advertised. So I think that that's pretty disappointing from Eli Lilly. We'll see if that holds true. I mean, in their last earnings call, they did tell us that all options are on the table, and we know that they probably didn't get them approved for no reason. But if you would like to see, and you are still experiencing shortages, the vials released, put hashtag release the vials in the chat. Like Rudy, like Sandra. Thank you. I appreciate that. Cloakster says vials are multi-dose pen. Yeah, absolutely. I keep my eyes open every day on the FDA website to see the multi-dose pen hit the approval, and I'm sure that will come soon. Donna with a $49.99 super chat. Donna, thank you so much for that. That is y'all are being very generous tonight. Thank you so much for your generosity towards this channel and towards my family. I so appreciate that. Could not, would not, should not do it without you. You all keep this thing going. So thank you very much, Donna. I very much appreciate your generosity tonight, and every night. Thank you. So yeah, do better, Eli Lilly. Do better. It is time. Time to release the vials. It's time to get the multi-dose click pen approved. It's just time. People are hurting. Please, here are pleas. Right? It's time. So we're gonna keep this moving because we've got a very interesting guest tonight. I told you, Scott Liberto of Planet Scott. So you can find him by Googling Planet Scott. Look him up over here on YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel, Planet Scott. But find him everywhere. Facebook /Planet Scott. Find him everywhere. But I'm excited to bring in our guest of the week tonight, our hot channel, which is Planet Scott. And he's going to come on and talk about his experience on the Survodutide trial, but not before we roll that bumper.
Hot channel.
Welcome, Scott.
Hey,
How are you tonight?
the guinea pig has arrived.
Pig has arrived.
Yes.
And
Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's so great to have you here, and thanks for coming on kind of short notice. And I've been pretty discombobulated this week, so I'm so thrilled to not have only pulled off a show this week, but to pull off a show with somebody like you, Scott, who has got such a unique and interesting perspective to share on Survodutide. But before we get into it, you and I talked a little bit today on the phone. I say a lot of it. We talked for about 45 minutes. And Scott is no kidding. Scott is a guinea pig. So Scott not only is in the Survodutide trials currently, but you've also served in a couple of other clinical trials before this. Do you mind just doing a quick flyover of what those clinical trials were and then how that sort of led you to where you're at now?
Sure. About 4 years ago, I decided to go into a trial, and I found out about it just through, it came up on my feed. There's a local trial and this one was for fatty liver. And I did know most would probably have fatty liver due to a higher enzyme. And so I go in there, and sure enough, I got fatty liver. And they find out by taking, and they test you using like a sonogram device specifically for livers. And so I was in that for about a year, a little over a year, about a year and a half total. It takes about 3 months to get into these things for you to be accepted. And then you run the course, and they do take 2 liver biopsies. And so, it's no joke. You go in there, you do need to do the medicines, always arrive on time, that sort of thing. So that was the first one. And yes, I did get the drug. It's always a random sort of thing. You're kind of rolling the dice, and I rolled the dice, and, I came up, I guess 7s or whatever it is, not goose eyes. So the second one I was in was for high triglycerides. And I knew that because of the first study. Well, did I get the drug? Yeah, I got the drug, and it worked. I don't know the exact numbers, but say around 450 on triglycerides, and it lowered it to about 150. And so, these medications are really wonderful. And so I did hear about this third trial due to me being in the other 2. And they were going to put me in one, and then like, well, we're going to wait for this one to finish up. We have this new thing that's coming out. And so they asked me, do I want to be in a weight loss? It's for 2 years. I'm thinking to myself, I've just been through like 3 years of studies. Do I want to do anything else? It's like, enough. How many times can you be poked and pricked and, doctors, and, I've got white coat syndrome, it's a very nervous thing being me. And so I'm like, well, let's find out a little bit more about it. And so they sort of said, if you come in, we can test you, you might be good. And so I went in there. I went through all the tests. It was a couple months of testing and then some waiting. And I actually called them up on a regular basis because I was kind of getting anxious. I'm hearing all this stuff about Ozempic and all these other weird names that have great songs on TV. And so I decided this is the thing for me. I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. Okay. And literally and figuratively. And what it was, they basically commit you for 2 years. And am I getting the drug? Who knows? Maybe, but I'm having all the effects. So, but I can't officially say that I'm getting it. I can only officially say that I'm in this trial and I'm having all the exact effects that they say online. And so those are the 3 that I did. And, so far, so good.
That's amazing. And so I always think that it takes a good amount of courage for somebody to go, I think about Mimi in Australia, who's on the Survodutide trial. It takes a good amount of courage, I think, for a couple reasons. First of all, you're there in the clinical trial because you qualify for it. So you need the help, for starters. But you're also up against the risk in most trials of getting a placebo and having to go an extended period of time without a treatment, right? So
and by the way, those are the heroes. Yeah. The heroes are the ones who aren't getting the drug and still go through it. So, you know, we got to pay homage to those people who are willing to go through all the procedures but not get anything out of it except for helping science.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think there's a level of bravery, you want to call it heroicism or bravery or however you want to couch it, but to anybody who does these trials, because there's always the element of they're doing it to test the safety and efficacy. So kudos to you for being willing to do that, not once, but thrice. But I gotta say, Survodutide is probably, the one that lowered your triglycerides from the 400s to the 100s is very intriguing. But I think it'll be very interesting to watch how you respond to Survodutide. Now, I think you kind of came prepared with some numbers. Can you kind of tell us throughout the course of this trial, like kind of where your stats kind of started? First of all, what are they measuring in this clinical trial? Because not all the trials on all these peptides are for weight loss. What is your specific trial that you're in measuring?
Believe it or not, weight loss. That is the main thing. They want to make sure that the weight loss does occur. And they also want to make sure that I don't die, because these are important drugs for people to take, but they're not for the faint of heart. The old school was, hey, this thing is going to help you lose weight. Now it's going to help you lose weight plus lose fat in your liver. Now, that's never been really done before. There's only one drug in the market, and it just recently came out. And I was in a trial for one that hasn't even come out yet. And so and fatty liver is a huge problem. If you're overweight, if you're obese, and I think it's a large percentage of people in the US.
Yeah, it is.
People have, a problem with it, and it goes undiagnosed because you can't feel it. You don't really know about it unless you have elevated liver enzymes, and there can be a turning point where it doesn't go back. Well, the miracle of the liver is that if you can get that fat out, your liver will regenerate and become fresh again. I mean, wow,
Absolutely.
So that's amazing. That's the cool part.
So did you mention also that they were testing some cardiovascular outcomes in this one?
Well, yeah, they want to make sure that when I am tested, I'm going through a litany of tests on every 3 weeks or so. I'm also checking in via every couple weeks for on video phone calls to make sure I'm okay and ask me questions and that sort of thing. And so, what they're testing is they're making sure my heart doesn't go too fast. Survodutide has a tendency to raise your metabolism, and in turn, it has a direct effect on your heart and your liver. Well, why your liver too? Well, your liver. And my liver's over here, by the way. I know where my liver is. My heart's over here. I'm got a little mixed up here.
You're talking about how it affects your heart and your liver,
right?
How your heart rate can increase with Survodutide.
Because it's the same. You have the same thing in your heart that you do your liver that it's acting on in your liver, and so because of that, it does have an effect on your heart. What does that mean? So far, I've been on this for 11 weeks, and I'm now titrated up, and I think I'm getting the highest dose. That's my guess. But I do have an increased heartbeat from 10 to 15 beats per minute. It does slow down after the week a little bit.
So it
But
kind of maybe peaks in the first couple of days and kind of goes down. Is
yeah,
that what you're saying?
yeah. Like I had it today, and I do feel a little racy. And it's not like being on caffeine. It's a different feeling. It's a little feeling of being anxious. And I don't really feel the heartbeat, but I do feel a little anxious. And so, and I'm taking my blood pressure on a daily basis just to make sure I'm okay. They want me to, and that's kind of part of the study too.
Okay, very interesting. Yeah, we've talked about many times on this channel, and I'll just say it to reiterate because I feel better saying it every time, is there are gray market versions of these drugs that people are buying online. And when it comes to these ones that have the glucagon agonism, those are the ones that really worry me for people, because they get into these retatrutide and survodutide, and they taking these without the proper supervision in a lot of cases, which is unfortunate. I see my internet's kind of waning here, so excuse me if you lose me for a second. But the tendency is to think of these the same way that they think of semaglutide or tirzepatide, and when you add the glucagon receptor agonist, it's a whole different ballgame, and there does need to be this intense monitoring of people, especially people who have maybe a tendency towards tachycardia, higher heart rate, or
High blood pressure. Yeah.
high blood pressure, anything relating to abnormalities from a cardiovascular standpoint, because
Mhm.
these are a cardiac stimulant. Again, not in the same way that caffeine is, not in the same way that any uppers are, so to speak, but in a way where you activating these glucagon receptors, and it's just a total different ballgame. So people my fear is that people are going into it sort of thinking they're doing the same thing, this is tirzepatide 2.0. No,
Right.
this is actually a whole new class of medication in a way, because the only glucagon drugs that are out there exist to actually rapidly raise blood glucose for people who are like type 1 diabetic, who go into like severely low blood sugars, maybe due to insulin or whatever, the synthetic insulin, and you need to bring that up right away. That's what the glucagon drugs that exist now. Now these are basically peptide versions that are accomplishing something similar, but the half-life, and you and I talked about this earlier, the half-life of these are days, where you drink a cup of coffee and your heart races for a few hours and it comes down. You're stuck with this medication once you inject it for multiple days until it peaks and starts to wane off. So it can be very dangerous. So just a caution and word to the wise for those who are watching and considering those versions of these medications. Like, please, please, please never take these medications without very close supervision of your doctor. So
Yeah.
I'll pivot and get off of my high horse on that. And I just want to, can you tell everybody, just like when you go in for your checkups, and you said it's every 3 weeks roughly?
Every 3 weeks, or they'll sometimes we do a video call.
Just run us through the time commitment that is for you, and what's required of you while you're there.
Sure. And I wanted to add on to one thing that you said before. And somebody in the chat room says on MOUNJARO, they've had an increased heart rate. Just today, I was speaking to the people helping me there, the doctors, and they were telling me that they have multiple testing going on right now. One's for MOUNJARO, okay? And they say that on these other drugs, they do have increased or lower heart rates on non-glucagon-based drugs.
Yes.
So you have to be
Yes.
careful no matter what you're taking.
You
Really
are
should have a
correct.
heart monitor, or if you're over a certain age, or if you feel any palpitations, or if you have a history or something. This isn't even medical advice. This is just normal stuff you should be doing at a certain age. Go ahead and get your blood pressure taken. Get a little wrist thing. It's very easy. You press a button and you know it. So
Absolutely. And that's a really great point, because you are correct. All GLP-1 receptor agonists are known to cause a increase in heart rate. With Tirzepatide, I was just looking this up because it's come up many times in the last few days as people have asked me about retatrutide, because I did a video on that where retatrutide showed that, on average in the last phase 2 trial, that when on the highest dose of retatrutide, which was 12, that it peaked on an average of about 10 beats per minute increase. And then after the 24th week, it started to sort of come down again. But Tirzepatide, even, which is Mounjaro or Zepbound, Tirzepatide showed that it has an increase of about 4 to 5 beats per minute also. So you're absolutely correct. Even with the older versions, there is that. So it's something that, again, there tends to be this I don't know if it comes from the gym bros who have taken peptides for a long time, with bodybuilding and stuff, that these are safe and provable, but it isn't as if they're all created equal and that they all do the same thing. Peptides aren't universally just peptides that do the same thing. And that doesn't mean that they're equally safe, no matter what you're taking. So never take these medications without a doctor's supervision is the big takeaway from what we're trying to get at here.
Yeah,
So excellent. I'm glad you brought that up.
I do have high blood pressure. I also have tachycardia. So, and so I am the perfect person to test, but my EKG is perfect and my heart calcium level is not bad. And so
Good.
I'm in a good spot to bring me to a better spot with doctor supervision. Now,
did they do a heart calcium score prior to this, or did you just have one?
They asked me what it was, and so I went ahead and got it for them.
Do you mind sharing what that was?
It was low. I don't know what it was exactly.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact amount. So.
I sort of geek out about this. So my dad, I think I shared this with you. Maybe I didn't. My dad did video production like you for a long time, and he died of a heart attack. And so I've stayed on top of it as a guy who's overweight and everything, and now diabetic. And I had mine done 2 years ago, I think, and it was 19, and it was all in my widowmaker artery, the artery that took my dad's life. So I'm thankful for learning so much about this stuff so that I can be more vigilant than he was. You don't know what you don't know, but I've got 4 kids to stay alive for. So very interesting. I appreciate you sharing that.
And it's funny you said that. My father had a quadruple bypass. Okay. So yeah, he survived it. But he also had diabetes. He lost toes. I mean, it's not a good thing. If you can reverse it, reverse it. So, and I want to do things. I found you because I'm a lurker. Okay. I'm in the background listening to this. And when I've gone into multiple rooms, I just want people to know that there's stuff that's out there that we are working on. It does get better over time. The longer you live, the longer you can live. And so, and I believe in science. I believe in these drugs, and it's scary. It's scary for me to do. But all at the same time, I don't want to be away from my loved ones. I don't want to be not part of this reality. I want to help. So yeah, but I love that, Scott. You asked me a question about what I'm doing and what my daily thing is and how they treat. So
run us through it.
Well, here's the thing. There's a lot that is involved in getting these studies. You have to say, I'm going to be married to this study for 2 years. Because you're really taking somebody else's place that could use the same spot. So, and so what happens is, I'll talk about this morning. I went in there this morning. What do? They take a urine sample. They make sure that there's no blood and it's looking right to them, and they test it. Second of all, they take my blood, and they don't take one vial. They take like sometimes 14, 15 vials. Okay. They take a lot, but you have to understand that they're smaller vials, but still they have to be distributed all sorts of places. And I also signed up for the maximum amount of blood to be taken because there's a few extra tests that they actually do, and they hold on to my blood. For the sake of science, I signed off on it. I don't get anything extra. Now, I do make money for doing this, and I do get the drug for free. That's the plus side. So, here's your drug, and I don't have to wait in line. It's just handed to me.
But you're not getting rich off of this trial. I mean, they're sort of compensating you for attempting to compensate you for your time.
I get $100 when I walk in the door there and I get my blood taken. Anytime I walk in the door, it's $100. Okay. And it's like every 3 weeks or so. And then I get $50 if it's a telecall. So that's the money I make. And so I went in there. Okay, so blood, urine, and then EKG. They do a full EKG, and then the doctor comes and reads it along with the person who's doing the testing for it. They weigh me. They measure me. My waist. They also make sure that there's no that my ankles aren't swollen, because that's a sign of edema, and that could be a heart issue. And so, and strangely enough, they do ask me questions about there's very, very specific questions. Well, they ask me about, do I want to kill myself? Do I have any thoughts of killing myself? Have I ever had a thought of killing myself? And so I don't know if there's where the connection is, or if it's just a liability sort of thing. And I just sort of go there. I love life. Everything is wonderful. That's sort of, if you ask me one more question, I might want to kill myself, but right now I'm pretty good. So that's basically it. And it's about sometimes 3 to 4 hours for me to be in there. Sometimes it's 2 hours, based upon how quick they are and that sort of thing. What else do they do? Oh, I need to fill out a questionnaire every 3 weeks. And the questionnaire has to do with, do I work out? How much do I work out? Am I in any pain? How much pain am I in if I am in pain? And so they want to know what is going on in my head, and am I working out? And if I'm not working out, what is preventing me to working out at my fullest? So that's sort of the basis of the questions. And there's something called Study Hub. This is it right here. Okay. And I log into here, and what happens is it's where I put, when I do a shot, I have to put the exact time that I do the shot. And it's also where I do the video calls. It's directly through this app. So kind of a cool thing. Now, they do want me to keep records of everything I've eaten for 1 weekend and 3 weekdays at the least. And so I've chosen a program called My Net Diary. There's a lot of them out there, but this one's free. I like it. It's got a scan for barcodes and that sort of thing. And so I have a tendency nowadays to eat things that have barcodes, or has the ability to look up easily. I can look up an apple. I can look up a certain bar, that sort of thing. So someone's asking who makes Survodutide. That's you can pronounce it better than me.
Yes, Survodutide is Boehringer Ingelheim, and Boehringer Ingelheim basically is financing the phase 2 and 3 trials of Survodutide. And I don't quote me on this, but I think the company that discovered the molecule is like Innovent. I may be getting it. There's like so many different little companies, but it's Boehringer
new language,
Ingelheim.
Man.
Yeah, Boehringer Ingelheim is funding it. That's what I know. But it's a molecule developed by a smaller company working with Boehringer Ingelheim to bring it to market. So
they need to add Jingleheimer Schmidt to the end of that.
Yeah, Boehringer Jingleheimer Schmidt. They make Survodutide.
That's too geeky. That's bad.
I mean, just wait. It'll be like part of their jingle when this thing comes out.
Yeah, it might be.
Ozempic. Earlier in the show, Mimi said something that I thought was super interesting that I want to pick up on. It just caught me, and she said she's in Australia, and she says there you cannot drug companies cannot advertise their drugs, and I think that is a very interesting sort of way to maybe approach. And we talked about, and this is getting off the path a little bit, but I think it's worth mentioning that one of the things that we talk about on this channel is how it's hard to get good information on anything pharmaceutical related from the mainstream media, because you just never know how much of the advertising revenue on whatever you're watching is paid for by Pfizer, paid for by Novo Nordisk, Eli Lilly, etc. And I think that does create quite a conflict when it comes to getting good information about health in the United States. So we've talked a little bit, tiny bit about on this channel, just kind of in the chats and the videos that we've done, as to what's the answer to that. Like, how do you remedy that? Because we need good information, right? And that even goes for the social media platforms, right? You see a fair amount of censorship over on TikTok right now. But, you know, TikTok today, YouTube tomorrow, whatever. I mean, the second you're saying something that goes against where, you know, the bulk of their revenue comes from, you know, you're going to get shut down. I mean, it's just business.
Yeah.
But that's interesting to me that they don't allow that, and that could potentially be an option. Maybe also a good way to, I don't know. I'm going to get too political probably if I keep talking, so we won't go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, an interesting thought nonetheless. One of the things that I was curious about, I get curious about the little weird nuancy things. So one of the things that we've talked about, Scott, on my channel a lot in the last couple months is just like, because those of us who are not on a clinical trial for these medications and are getting, you know, the retail versions of these medications, the commercial versions of these medications, we're all like doing an Easter egg hunt every month to find our medicine. And some of us aren't finding it in time, and da. They're all in shortage. That's the ultimate, that's the bottom line, right? And so one of the things that we've been really advocating for on the pen, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, or onthepen.com, my website, we've been advocating for release the vials, because we really feel like if Eli Lilly would just release MOUNJARO and Zepbound in a single dose vial that you could drop in an insulin needle, they could crank out 80 billion of those way faster than they can do these complicated pens, right? These click pens that have about 18 different moving parts inside of them, all for 0.5 milliliters of liquid, right? And so if they would just release the single dose vials, they've been approved by the FDA for both presentations, Zepbound and MOUNJARO. I'm curious, because you're in a clinical trial, what presentation of the medicine are you given? And do you have an example that you could show us?
Yeah, actually, I didn't know what to expect when I started. I thought I was going to get a pen, but instead they give me this right here. Now, this is a one shot. I'm going to put this up close so you can see. And this allows me to have whatever they filled in here. I don't know the amount. I really don't. And so I just pull this off right here, and I literally jab. And then I squeeze, and they showed me how to do it once, and then I'm on my own. I can go into the office if I want. They will do it for me, and they give me a little thing to put my sticks into. So my stick container, but let me show you.
On the stick.
on the stick, yeah. It's not on the pen. I'm on the stick.
I like it. And so, inside of this, he has an extra liver in case he needs it, and also
in a heart.
In a heart.
In a heart. It's where I keep my black heart. So here you go. This is what I get right here. Now, this right here is a box. You can see it's from the company itself. And I am allowed to show this. This is not illegal. This is nothing weird about this. They put all the dispensing information. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up so you can see. I'm not going to take it right now because I've already taken one earlier today. But I'm opening it. And this is what it looks like. So it's just a pen that's ready. And so I just pull it out and I do it. It's pretty easy. I don't have to think about the quantities. I don't have to worry about really anything. It's ready to go.
I'm sure they want to make it foolproof that you're going to administer the proper dose.
Are you calling me a fool?
No, I'm calling me a fool. because I don't think even I could screw that up. I've got to address something in the chat because it's one of those things that I see commented on all the time, and I hate to do this, but it's on the release the vial, and people. So the presentations, the vial presentations that are approved, that are sold in ex-US markets like Canada, like Australia, people always are like, well, we have those approved here and we can't get them. And I just want to just fly over that real quick. What you have to understand, for those of you who have the ability to get the vials but can't, it's not because the vials are in shortage. It's because the pens are in shortage and their manufacturing capacity is completely maxed out to make pens, because pens are sold here in the United States is where drug companies make their money. They do not make as much money when they sell a prescription in Canada. They do not make as much money when they sell a prescription in Australia. Why? Because those governments, for better or for worse, have the power to arbitrate the cost of the medicine. How much do you pay for your medicine in Australia? How much do you pay for your medicine in Canada? A lot less than we pay in the United States when you factor in insurance companies and everything else. The retail cost of the medicine here is over $1,000. The retail cost in Canada is around $250. The actualized price that Eli Lilly makes per dose here is around $550 of Mounjaro and Zepbound. They only make about half of that in Canada, and that's probably not even their realized price. It's probably more like $150. So when they tap out their manufacturing capacity, they're tapping it out for the United States. That's where they make their money, and they have a huge valuation. Like, what people need to understand about publicly traded companies is they have to live up to the valuation of their company, meaning they have to deliver the kind of earnings that they say they're going to deliver. And if they spend a bunch of their resources trying to serve the markets they don't make any money in, they're not going to meet their investors' expectations, and then their stock is going to go down. And so I feel like I have to stop and address that, because every time I hear it, it's like, no. If they shifted some of their manufacturing here to vials, it would help. That's why they would go to the trouble of getting it approved in the United States, because they know it's a lever they can pull when it becomes financially advantageous. And my point has always been that even though it might not be financially advantageous right now, and even though I think there are cases to be made for it, it's advantageous to the patients who are on these medications. Now imagine, Scott, that you got halfway through this trial and you're seeing these results. Your blood sugars are good. Your liver enzymes are down. Your heart rate is coming back down to earth, and your weight is stabilizing to a normal, healthy weight. And then they're like, you don't get it this month.
Right.
Wait, what? What? That's what literally everybody on these medications.
It sounds like a country song.
It does.
Yeah. Everything's going great my way. I'm losing weight. I feel great. But now I can't do it anymore because they don't have it for me.
I love it. And that's exactly, I mean, it is, we should really collaborate on some sort of country song about trying to get your friggin' GLP-1 medication every month.
I think that would be a TikTok hit in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We got to do it.
I want to tell you how I feel on these drugs, because that's important. It's like, you're taking it. Does it feel any different? Do you feel any different taking them? Yes, I do. I have not been on any other drug. This is the first weight loss drug I've ever been on, but I feel different because I do go through everything that everybody else does with the GLP-1s. I've gone through nausea. I've gone through being a little tired when I take them, the gas and bloating and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of that's dissipated. But the one thing that's still building up a little bit is I do feel a little racy still. And so I do take medication for high blood pressure. And I'm allowed to on this. They want me to, that sort of thing. But yeah, I do feel different, and I do know when I've taken it. And after about 6 days, I start feeling hungry again. Plus that raciness is slowed down a little bit. So, but I kind of believe it's going to, everything I've read on Survodutide, that sooner or later it starts. You go over that hump and it'll start lowering again.
So I would imagine it. I would imagine that it would track similarly to retatrutide, and you said you're about 111 days into it. So you're like what, 15 weeks or so, about
Yep.
three to 4 months into it.
Yep, 16 weeks, 111 days, 2,661 hours, and 9,581,115 seconds.
280,566,000 seconds. That's how many times he's been on Survodutide. But if you track with, we got a lot of songs tonight. I didn't know we were going to go that route. But
I need to hear you say it. Survodutide?
Survodutide. That's right. Survodutide.
Survodutide.
If you follow the retatrutide trials, retatrutide peaked at 24 weeks. And then there was a pretty sharp drop off with that heart rate where it leveled out again. So it's like there is a point where I think that raciness, as you referred to it, things get a little bit racy here sometimes. But that raciness that you're feeling, I would like mark your 24th week on the calendar, and then by the 25th week it was down and down, and then like, you know, by the 30th, 40th week on the medication it was off. Here's a question for you. So the trial lasts how long? 2 years?
2 years.
That's a good long trial. So after the 2 years is over and you get to the end of your Survodutide journey,
I go to Disney World.
Go to Disney World. Are you going to look like for maintenance? Are you going to try to see if you can get onto a maintenance version of GLP? Are you going to try to do it alone? Like, what's the plan there? Have you even thought that far ahead?
Well, actually, it's a good question because that's a question that came up today. And people don't realize if you're in a 2-year trial, you may be asked to continue the trial. Okay, they may continue because they're like, okay, well, we've seen what it does to you. Let's see what even longer it does. And so they have a possibility of doing that. Now, mind you, the trial that I'm on right now is for 3.4 or 6 milligrams. I think milligrams. Yeah, I think that's right. It's in milligrams. And so I don't know which one I'm getting, but there's a possibility I can continue on. That said, I haven't really thought about which one I would be going to or if I would be doing it. But chances are there'll be another study that I could possibly go into. But otherwise, I would probably do something, similar or, to if there's anything that's released.
That is awesome.
Somebody asked in the chat room, do I have extra energy? Yes. I get on a treadmill and I don't even think about it. I do have more energy. I am, and actually of all things, and this is something I've never heard anybody say, my recall has gotten better. I'm remembering things better and quicker and faster from a long time ago. So I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but I'm watching, and I know that because I'm watching programs like Jeopardy, and I'm getting the answers. I'm like, how did I pulled that out of my ass? That was from such a long time ago, this information, but it seems to have clicked something. So, it does work on the brain, and who knows, it might do something for memory too.
Well, they're absolutely, and this is something that I was talking to somebody about today. They're absolutely studying these in the treatment of early onset Alzheimer's, because what they're finding is that the reduction of insulin in your blood it benefits the buildup of amyloid plaque. I should say reduces the buildup of amyloid plaque in your brain. Amyloid plaque is a big contributor to Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And so there are studies being done on that right now, and like whether that, clears up brain fog and allows you to access. I mean, who really knows? But there's clearly something to that because medical science is exploring that. So that is fascinating that you're, and then you get to wondering like, well, is the glucagon element especially helpful? And then I also wonder what the ratio is of GLP-1 to glucagon agonism. And these are the kind of things that I wonder that over time we'll get answers to. But that is a very interesting insight to share. And Deborah brings up a great point. Alzheimer's has been known as type 3 diabetes. But yeah, let's get into it. What do you got? Give us some of the numbers that
I
you
received
have,
this today. This is from May 8th. Okay, so this is all brand new, and it's from LabCorp, and so it's information on how I'm doing for the most part. They do, because this is none of this information affects my study, and so they're able to give me a more thorough bit of information than the previous. But I'm going to read down a few, which is unbelievable. My triglycerides, they're 219. That's within perfect range, between 58 and 320. They weren't. Okay, they were high enough to get me into a study before this. My cholesterol is in check. I had high cholesterol and I was on a secondary drug. I'm not on it anymore. And this is just within 11 weeks. Let's see what else here. My monocytes were high. They're in perfect range now. What else? Let's see the second page. All my proteins are right. I do have a low HDLC4. It's at 34. The range is between 40 and 60. And my VLDLC is a little high at 44. My range should be between 7 and 34. And so some of my lipids are a little weird, but my sugar was, I was having, I was borderline diabetic. I was borderline. Not anymore. Now, the most amazing part is the ALT and AST, which is your liver.
Your liver enzymes.
Right. Yeah. And my GGT. All of these were high. Okay. I mean, these were.
Like, how high are we talking?
We're talking probably 6 times normal level.
So in the hundreds.
Yes. Yes. And now my ALT is 43. And that's between 5 and 48. My AST is 28. My GGT is 38. I've done nothing more than take the drug and I'm on a treadmill. That's all I'm doing. And now, mind you, I eat well. I prepare my own food. I make sure that I use good oils. I use olive oil. I use low salt, a high protein. I stay away from carbohydrates. Last night for dinner, I had baked salmon with, what is it called? It's that white stuff. I can't remember the name of it. It's like broccoli. Cauliflower.
Cauliflower.
Yeah. Cauliflower, but a lot of cauliflower with cheese. I mean, I'm Italian. I've got to eat cheese. But regardless, I'm not drinking. I stopped drinking 100%. I'm not really in the mood to drink anymore.
Intentional? Yeah, I was going to say, is that intentional? Because a lot of people report that with GLP-1 medications in general, that they're like, I used to drink regularly. Now I can't fathom drinking.
Yeah, there's a big crossover between the drugs. So, but I do believe I am getting the higher dosage, because I will tell you, it's no joke. When I got the drug for the first time a couple weeks ago, when they upped it, I felt it. I was like, hello, what's going on here? This is really something. I can really feel it now. And now it's kind of tapered off and I've relaxed a little bit with it too. But if you're going to be playing around and doing, trying to find these drugs out in the wild, don't do it. And if you do it for some reason, make sure you see a cardiologist and an endocrinologist or whoever else you need to see, an internal medicine person who knows what they're doing and understands the actual long-lasting effects and the short-term fixes for these things.
Yeah, awesome. That is, just tremendous numbers. And I'm sure that when you get another 6-8 weeks into this study, some of those other numbers that you mentioned that we're still maybe a little out of range. I'm sure it's just only a matter of time before they come back into normal range. And the liver numbers are just astounding to have ALT and AST. So again, these are your liver enzymes. So your liver, when your liver has starts, when the cells start to break down, they release different enzymes into your blood, and that's what your ALT and AST are. It's just a measurement, and it doesn't just come from the liver. I think there's actually, your heart does the same thing, but your liver to a greater extent. And to
I
see
call it
those
crying.
numbers,
I call your liver is crying.
yeah, that is a really good way to say it. Yeah, your ALT and AST are like your liver is crying, and just a way to measure that. And so yours have come back into, I think you said your AST maybe was a little bit between 5 and 40, and yours was like 42 or something. But to go from the hundreds down to normal levels, or generally normal levels, is just astounding. And that's what's amazing about these glucagon agonists, is that they are just absolutely, like, think about this. This is one of the big things that doctors are talking about right now, is that there's an astounding number of patients that are cirrhotic in their liver, and they don't even drink alcohol, and it's because of fatty liver. Now, what happens is, just for everybody who's watching, your liver, when you become overweight and obese, your body's depositing fat everywhere, right? But one of those places is your liver, because your liver is metabolizing different macronutrients and turning a lot of stuff into sugar, right? But when there's just too much, it just starts to store things as fat on your liver, and so your liver grows, and there starts to be these little fat deposits in your liver. And what happens is, over time, those fat deposits that are in your liver cause your liver to scar. And that scarring is called fibrosis. And so you start with fatty liver disease, and then you lead to fibrosis, which is actual damage of your liver. And fibrosis leads to cirrhosis. So you sort of have this like sort of evolution of liver damage. And what these glucagon agonists, and even, to be honest with you, there's been studies about tirzepatide that have shown the same thing, where they're actually being able to reduce that fibrosis stage, which at one point, just a couple of years ago even, they thought to be irreversible. Once you started to have scarring on your liver, they thought that to be irreversible. And now even tirzepatide is showing that to be reversible. Now Survodutide and retatrutide are showing that you can reverse that even faster, which is just absolutely amazing to think about. If you've ever known anybody who's died or suffered from, end stage liver disease, it is not the way to go. It is not
and it
the way to
happens
go.
fast too, and it happens without pain. You don't realize it's happening. I had a relative pass away, and
no
it was from
pain
drinking.
until you get to that stage.
Yeah, you really have to be end stage, and then you start, oh, it's hurting, and I'm not feeling right, and I can't keep food down, and it'll happen fast. And so I don't want that to happen. I've had relatives, I've seen it happen before, in front of me. So, your liver is huge. It's a huge organ, and it does a ton of work. And let's face it, we've all spent some of our 20s and 30s drinking and eating fried foods and this sort of thing. Your body has a memory, and that memory doesn't want you to forget. And I am very thankful to be in this study. This study is going to make me live longer. It's going to improve my quality of life. But most of all, I'm going to be around, if nothing else happens to me, for my loved ones. And so, and I know everybody in this room, they probably feel like they're going to live, and this is a savior for them. And what it is it's the best crutch in the world. Okay. It's an electric wheelchair for us to be able to get over that mountain and be who we want to be. And so, I feel every day I feel so lucky. I can't believe that I'm actually being given this. And so because of it, I make sure that I'm doing the working out. I'm making sure I'm filling out the forms. I'm making sure that I'm arriving on time. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, because I want to see the science bring everybody in this chat room to the next level. And if they have a hurting liver, they can have it fixed. Again, I believe in science. I believe in the chemicals out there because we are chemicals. We're electrochemical creatures, and we're pretty smart. We've got a lot of cool stuff that's happening right now. But I'm glad you're getting the word out for these things. You're very knowledgeable. You do help a lot of people, and this is it's not a game, but you can kind of have fun with it. You can
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can, and picking out new foods is a wonderful thing, and finding what works for you. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I've got a better metabolism, or here's something I haven't done in a long time because I have some back issues. I got into the car without sitting down and putting my feet over. I just stuck my feet in, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? It's like my back is feeling better. My body is feeling better. And I don't know if it's because it's supposed to have an effect on your inflammation or not, but I do know that the weight loss that I have, and combined with everything else, it was seamless, and so I'm feeling really pretty good. And I'm doing a half an hour on a treadmill at 2.6 miles per hour on an incline every day. I feel great. I don't feel tired at the end. I feel wonderful. So, it's a good thing.
That is awesome. So glad that you were willing to come on tonight and share about your experience in the Survodutide trial. Again, Survodutide being a GLP-1 glucagon agonist from Boehringer Ingelheim in I believe it's now in phase 3 clinical trials.
Phase 3.
And so hopefully around the time retatrutide comes out and orforglipron, both molecules from Eli Lilly. So between CagriSema from Novo Nordisk and retatrutide, I think you'll have Survodutide from Boehringer Ingelheim. I'm most excited about the fact that we've got a third company involved. Finally, a third company. And if they keep with the injector pen that you showed us, the stick. Here's my one plea with Boehringer Ingelheim: keep the stick. That's very easy to manufacture, very hard to screw up, and they could get tons of it out, because I'm telling you, we need more. On the stick. Be watching for Scott's new channel, Scott on the Stick. But yeah,
I'm not sure if I want to be known for that, but okay.
Yeah, I know. I even wonder about OnThePen sometimes. But it's a very hopeful thing to have a third company involved, and Boehringer Ingelheim's another amazing company. And so I'm super excited about that. Thank you so much, Scott, for coming on. Tell everybody where they can find you and your content, maybe a little bit what they can expect from it, from older content, and what they can maybe expect from you moving forward, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, I have a company. It's called Planet Scott TV, and I create videos for people out in the world. Also, I make TV commercials, and I place TV commercials. I also do live events, and so Planet Scott TV is sort of my work thing, and it's a big part of my life. I'm on TikTok as Planet Scott TV and also Scott Liberto. I'm on Facebook as Scott Liberto. Please follow me. Also, you can see me. You can see my website, planetscott.tv. Everything is located like that. So I'm out of Boca Raton, Florida. I'm in South Florida. So, if you ever need anything that I'm doing, but if you have any questions, you can hit me up. If you say, well, I'm kind of interested in doing that, or can you repeat something? I'm here to let you guys know what I know. And so this is where I am, and I'm happy to be back. If anything changes, I'll be back in your room. I'll let you know where I stand on this. And you've got, multiple people out there in Australia, all over the world, I guess, willing to give you some information. So, and I appreciate everybody who came in your room. They seem like a bunch of very happy, involved people. So I appreciate it.
It's a great group, and glad to have you here tonight, Scott. It was a pleasure not only chatting with you tonight, but chatting with you today on the phone too. It amazes me when I'm able to just pick up the phone and talk to somebody, and you just kind of feel like you're talking to an old friend, like we've never spoken before. Today we had a couple quick emails back and forth, like, hey, do you want to do my show this week? You're like, sure. And as Scott, to his own credit, has had massive social media followings before in his world, in his niche, in his genre. It's no surprise because obviously you're a pro at this. Thank you for being here tonight, Scott. Really appreciate you lending not only your time but your experience to the stream, and just hope that you'll come back and share a little bit more about how this trial is going and how things sort of progress, especially whether those last few numbers sort of come into alignment for you.
Yeah, I've lost 14 pounds. So people are asking in the chat room. I've lost 14 pounds, and they slowly brought me up. They had very minuscule amounts, like 0.2, 0.3 milligrams at first. They really did a very slow climb for me. And so, that's why. And by the way, when I first went into the trial, they had a representative, two representatives that I was not able to talk to, but they were physically there at the place where I was getting it. I was the first person in in the trial for that place where I'm going to get it. And so, because they knew me before, and so I couldn't talk to them. You can't break that wall. But they are involved, and they are there, and they are watching, and they're making sure that I'm okay. And so if anything goes wrong.
Yeah, and I'll just sort of build on what Scott's saying here too, because Scott's experience is one thing, and then the averages are another. So Survodutide has been through phase 2 clinical trials, and the weight loss on Survodutide through the clinical trials in phase 2 were very similar to the weight loss ultimately with tirzepatide, which is MOUNJARO and Zepbound. And so you see very similar, which is impressive because it's got that glucagon component to it instead of GIP, right? So it's I love that it's a competing molecule that's doing different things that tirzepatide is doing. It'll be interesting how it kind of squares off with retatrutide. But again, there's just even with it, the most exciting thing about Survodutide is that it's a third company. To me, that's the most exciting thing. What it can offer is just amazing too. And so thank you for sharing. I hope you'll come back and share.
I was happy to be here. More. Thanks for asking me to be on.
Yeah. What a pleasure. And just weird happenstance. You commented on a TikTok video, I think, or something. And I was like, dude, a Survodutide trial guy, let's talk to him. So thanks for being here, Scott. I hope you have a great night. Thanks for lending, and especially an East Coaster. It's getting late there, so thank you for being here tonight, buddy. We'll check in again soon.
Will do. I'm happy to be a loser.
Yeah, we're all losers here, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, have a great night, Scott.
You too, man. Take care.
Thanks. Scott Liberto. You can find him at Planet Scott. Just Google it. You'll find him everywhere. The guy's been around, a video production guy who's been around the block for quite a while. He's sharing with me quite a bit on the phone today. He and I had a nice chat today, and I was like, man, did we spoil all of the good stuff for tonight? Got the citronella going, trying to keep these bugs away. But we had a great conversation today, an even better conversation tonight. Glad to share it with you all. If you enjoyed Scott and enjoyed what he had to share, please thank Scott in the chat. I'm sure you probably already have. He touched on the fact that this community seems to be a happy community, a well-informed community. I got to concur. I just it's such, and I've said this many times at the end of the show, but this community is a real bright spot in my week. I love the things that I do on a weekly basis. I pour my heart and my soul into my kids, into my work, into all the things that are outside of this. But this is my reprieve. And even though it is work, it is not, it doesn't feel that way, right? Because you all are such a bright spot in my week. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of the channel. I got to give a couple special shout outs tonight. Donna with a $49.99 super chat tonight. So super stinking generous, Donna. Michelle with and I think I missed this one earlier. I didn't see it. Michelle with a $49.99 super chat tonight. Thank you so much, Michelle. And Gina with a $50 super chat tonight. Thank you so much, because that really helps. Like we had this crazy week with the basement flooding, the studio getting dismantled, missing a day of work. My wife has missed a bunch of work, weeks now. She's back. She got to finish the last couple of days, thank God, to be with her little kiddos. Sue the Dude with 5 memberships, Karen Tilley with 5 memberships gifted, and Shelly, who became a member also. So thank you so much for your generosity here, because you all really help me to justify the part of this. It's like I do pour a lot of time into this, and so thank you, really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I hope that you all have a great week. I hope that you enjoyed the show tonight. Now, if you are a member of this channel, we are going to do our members only live stream after this. If you want to become a member and you want to be part of the after show, just click in the description of this video down below. And there's a link where you can become a member for just $2.99 a month. It helps to support the work that I do. Does YouTube keep a little bit of it? Yeah, they do, but it still helps. Every little bit helps. And so if you want to enjoy the members only side, you can become a member for $2.99 a month. Links in the description of this video. And we're going to meet for just a few minutes afterwards here to talk about an amazing show with Scott Liberto tonight, Planet Scott. Google him. And check him out. But yeah, we'll do that a little bit later on. Until next week, may the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, and be so gracious to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what I do at On the Pen with ManOnMounjaro. This was a fun one, an interesting one for sure, and I can't wait to see you all next week. Have a great week.